Good morning. This is Norma Cowie for this week's Wednesday's Norma Talks. 3 days till the New Year's Day. And in the last few days, wherever you have been, hopefully it's not as cold as we have here. I do not remember ever being this cold in this area. But we're coping. And so we're going on. But when we go out, well, we go out and come very happy to come back inside and rejoice. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was because very often when it comes to the New Year's, people make their resolutions. What we find and what they report usually is that by the end of January, their resolution has totally been already gone out the window. And the reason for this is because when you make a resolution, it's a hope, it's a dream, it's a desire, but you haven't really decided on the goals that you want. So what I wanted to talk about today was goal setting, more than just goal setting, creating the goals that you want. And there's several ways in which I explain how you can do that. But I'm going to say the single most thing, and I'll probably repeat this several times. The important thing is when you have come to a goal that you want, that you decide that it will be. The decision of making a goal rather than saying, oh, it'd be really nice to have that. Yes, wouldn't that be wonderful? Perhaps we can do it this way. But when you decide, then a lot of things change in the decision. Decisions, as far as I'm concerned, are always the important element. The other thing is to start off with what you really are wanting. When we make New Year resolutions, very often they're hope and they're like, I would really like this. And they're not perhaps a lot of thought has gone into them particularly. But what's really important is to know what specifically you want. Now, I'm just going to tell you a story. Years ago, a lot of years ago, I went to a workshop with Mark Victor Hansen, who is part of the book series that has sold millions. He hadn't put those out yet. But the same point, when we were there at the workshop, held in beautiful Lake Louise, actually, up in the Rockies, one of the things that he said was that as the subconscious is really big, you need 100 goals. Now, I had been teaching goal setting quite a while at that point, and I thought, 100 goals, that's no problem at all, except something interesting happened. When I started writing out what my goals were, I got to around 60, and then I stopped. I couldn't seem to find anything. Couldn't figure out what was going on. So I went back over my goals, and what I realized, they were too general. I put travel, but I didn't put down where I wanted to travel. Where did I really want to go? What did I want it to be? So I went through my whole list again, and where I had made these sort of topics, I went and put what exactly, specifically it would mean. And what I found was I got my 100, and I used to do that for a lot of years. I would sit down and every New Year's Day, and I would write out the goals and I would look at them, because my tendency always is to be not as specific as I need to be. So then very often, what is it that you want? What do you want? And so you make a list of what you want. No, because we don't want to be putting our energy into what we don't want. And that's how often people go. They tend to think of their lives in relation to positive, negative. But basically, we just want to look at, do I want this or do I not want this? And often we start off with a don't want. And actually, I'm going to read something that I wrote in my Secrets for Living Happily book. And I said, so I just write, therefore, I find a want, don't want list is important. To do this, take a piece of paper, put a line down the middle, and write out all that you don't, and all you don't want. Then you look at the don't want and you flip it to the opposite. Very often we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we do want. So the key is here, and what I put here, an example is this. I look in my closet as I did this morning, to be sure of what I'm going to wear. I look at my pink dress, say, and ask myself, do I want to wear pink today? And my answer inside is, no, don't want to wear that one. Then I look at my blue dress. Do I want to wear that today? Again, the answer is no. I want to wear the red and white dress. By wearing red and white dress, I feel happy. Often when we begin, we do not know what we want, but by eliminating, we discover what we really want. And that's the first step. Find out what you want. By eliminating and going, if I don't want this, I must want that. And by eliminating what you don't want, it's like clears the decks. And then you can concentrate on what you do want. Now, I'm just going to talk about a couple of other things. A lot of people feel they have to control everything. And when you feel like you're having to control, in other words, if I do all the steps, I'm going to do all the steps. I do this and I do that and the other, and everything will be fine. I will create this. Now, what happens with that, first of all, you've got to know the goal is really the end result. It's not the steps in between. I find a lot of people, when I'm working with them on goal setting, they make what I call the steps. And I'm going to lead you through a little visualization in a bit to find out what I call the first step principle working for you. And so it's really about knowing the end result the real end result that you're wanting. In other words, what do I really, really want here? And most people make the error by what I call steps towards that goal is going to be in that. But you can't control a lot of this. And that's where your trust and faith in life itself, whether you have a belief in a supreme being or in a universal love force like I do, whatever, it's the trust and faith in that when you have that impact of that, what you want. And I call it the knowing place. When you create and say, this is my goal, and you decide it needs to move into a knowing place. You don't know how it's going to show up. You don't know where it's going to show up. You just know that it is. I often say, like, if you need a goal. Now, another little story I'm going to tell you. Years ago, we used to have just have faith and trust in God or whatever. Just know that it's going to be there. Let go and let God, I think, was the phrase. In fact, I know that's true. Let go and let God. So to me, it was, okay, I'll let go and let God. Well, within 3 months, my life was a confusing mess. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was happening. It was just craziness. So I had to sit down and reevaluate what that really meant. Let go and let God. And this is where that control thing happens. What we need to know is the end result. And that's where I came up with my first step principle. I know other groups sometimes use that title, but I found this for myself many, many, many years ago. And so it's like, what is the first step that you're going to take towards your goal, any goal? But you can only really work with one at a time. And I'll explain that a little bit in a moment. So you let go of how it's going to be. You move your goal to the knowing place. You've decided this is what I want. This is my knowing place. Yes, I know that will happen. In other words, there's no doubt. There's no question. And then you ask yourself, what's the first step? And as I say, a meditation I'll lead you through will determine that. So you have the trust and faith that you're going to be led step by step to get to that goal, because sometimes goals come from very strange places. They show up unexpectedly. And that's what I discovered with the let go and let God concept, was I needed to know the end result I wanted, then I had to let go how it was going to show up. And as I say, it began my idea and the knowingness of the first step principle. What is my first step? So let's go back to goals for a moment. What kind of goals do you care about? Because if you're going to write out a lot of goals to figure out what's the most important, there's personal goals. And in the personal goals, it can be, I want a relationship, I want to drop weight, I want to do this or that. You're going to have career and work goals. I want to advance. I want a new career, like lots of things. And often with careers, you don't really know what it is you want to do there anyway. Material goals. I want a new car. I want to go on a trip. If you can get on an airplane that's flying these days, yes, you can go on a trip or I can't even say get on a bus or a train, a bowway. You can't even really do that very often for a lot of people. Spiritual goals, philosophical goals, all of those have become important. And then there's the other, like the unexpected, that doesn't sort of fit in any other specific categories. What I'm going to suggest is this, is that you write out a list of things that you want. Then you eliminate what you want the least until you finally are left with three major things that you want, your three major goals. And in your heart, you decide that you're going to have those goals. You don't know how, sometimes you don't know how it's going to be. You just know that in your place, this is what I want to have happen in my life. I'm just checking my notes here because I did make some notes today. I don't always make notes, but today I did. So I'm reading from, from this book is from the Spiritual Principles of Wealth, where we talk about goal setting. So I want you, this may not be able to actually do this exercise as I'm talking to you, but what you can do is replay it, or when you come back and take the time to actually work through this. What is really important too is to determine where your quote unquote reality space is in your mind. This is something that I do a lot with my students when we're looking at where's reality, because a lot of people do their goal setting in their imaginary place. And it's a really important that you visualize. And how you can figure this out is I want you to, you can close your eyes and imagine something that's happened in reality, like maybe having a meal with a friend, or you're doing something specific, but it was real. And you notice where in your mind you have that. Whereabouts in the mind? Is it in the front? Is it in the back? Is it at the top? Wherever it is, that's your reality space. Then I want you just to imagine. You might be imagining you're on the beach in Hawaii, or you're imagining, I know some people might just be imagining they won a lottery. You imagine that. Where in your mind do you see that? Few people have it in the same place, which is really a dicey, but most people will see it in another space in their brain. So then if you have it in your imaginary space, what you want to do is shift that image into your reality space. By shifting the image into the reality space, it will feel different, because your body, which means the essence of you, say, oh, this is real. It's just not an imagination, because your system knows that. Your system knows, oh, that's where you imagine. That's where you, right? So we want that. You visualize that in your reality space. Now, I really do, again, I'm going to emphasize, do not work with more than 3 at a time. Ever, because it's too much. Preferably 1, but you can work. I find usually I work with 3, figure out which is the most important. And because of this is the imaginational part. So, okay, you might want to close your eyes for this. Imagine yourself sitting in a chair, a very comfortable chair, where you can totally relax. Now imagine your first goal. And I want you to see yourself there. And I want you to see, as you step into that goal, to feel how it feels to have achieved this goal. You breathe into it and you feel it. And you, as I say, know that this is real. Then you ask yourself, what is the first step I need to take? And you allow the answer to come into your mind. Then you just put that goal aside and you take your number 2 goal. Again, imagine yourself, and I'm saying imagine, but I want you to, in the imagination, if possible, in your reality space. Again, imagine yourself achieving that goal. See yourself there. Feel how it feels to achieve it. Breathe into it. And then ask yourself, what is the first step I need to take? When you know what your first step is, put the goal aside and take goal number 3. Again, imagine yourself achieving this goal. See yourself there. Feel how it feels to achieve it and breathe into it. Ask yourself, what is the first step I need to take? When you know what your first step is, put the goal aside and now take all 3 goals and look at them. Check to see if you need to change the order. Often we think our goal is an end result, when it is a step towards another goal. Look at the 3 goals. Feel how it feels to achieve them. Know the goal is yours and commit to do the first step. Remember, each step you take becomes the first step. So you never need to worry about the next step. You just take them one at a time. Now, I have found this has been very, very helpful for me. And I quite often just work with one goal. And that first step, very often for a lot of people that I work with, is actually a step towards another goal. That's why we look at 1, 2, and 3 and see what order is the most important. What is the most important goal? It's really for you to, because then you can concentrate on knowing that, being with that, understanding that. There's other ways you can do to help. Treasure maps or vision boards or whatever you want to call them, where you make collages of pictures and words. And they can be very, very helpful to keep you on track, you might say, as to the feeling. But you'll notice how often I mention the word feeling. The combination between the mental and the emotional feeling aspects of us is very, very important. You need to know, this is what I really want. This is how it works. And the key here is to know that you have decided you will have this in your life, and it is in a knowing place, which means usually down in your gut, not in your head. You know this can show up. You do not always know how, but you need to know what steps you take to open the door to allow it in. Once you start on the process, each step that you take is the first step now, because the others are done, they're behind you. And trust the process that you will be led to where you want to be. Miracles happen. I've had many, many miracles happen. And sometimes I didn't have a goal specifically, but I've learned to trust life to bring things to me, to things demonstrate coming forward in the awareness. Because it's not about making resolutions. It's about deciding you want a specific goal. You want the specific, but you want to make sure that that goal that you're wanting is just not a step to the next thing. You want to make sure that you're going for that end. And remember, reality space in your mind is so important to know what you want and to know where you're going. Having the trust and faith, it will show up. If you know that it's real, if you have your goal in your reality space, which helps that knowing place, by the way, it will be. It will be. So I want you to, I used to always do this on New Year's Day, look at my goals for the year, look at what was happening, where I was, where I wanted to go, and then let go and allow life to bring to me the very big miracles that happen. And they can, and they do, and they will. So this is your time coming up, 3 days. You can sit down and come up with your 3 major goals. Check out through the visualization that they really are in order. So you know what your top goal at this point is. And you can enjoy the process going step by step through your life in the coming year. I want to thank you for listening, and I trust that you will have lots of wonderful experiences as the year 2022 begins to come on up, and you can enjoy and be happy. Thank you for watching, and come Sunday, Happy New Year.